Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, Avodah Zarah Chaf Aleph. We begin at the Mishnah, which is on the bottom line of Chaf Amud Beis. Now this Mishnah relates back to the halacha that we learned the other day, based on the pasuk Lo Sechanim. Lo titein lehem chanoya b'karka. Don't allow a goy permanence, ownership, control of the land of Eretz Yisrael. Now, if it's a home, a residential property, then it entails that single concern of Lo Sechanim. If it's a sad, a field where produce can grow, in which case, by transferring it to the goy, you are basically eradicating from the field, eliminating the possibility of having truma and maser separated from the produce of that field. So you're being mevatal, you're sort of negating that mitzvah, that obligation in the land. So then it carries that compounded concern as well. Aside from giving them control and ownership, which relates to Lo Sechanim, there is the additional concern of being mafkia, eradicating truma and maser from that field. Therefore, says the Mishnah, when it comes to homes, you can't even lease a home to a goy in Eretz Yisrael, in maskirin lohem batim be'Eretz Yisrael, for concern that it might lead to a sale, which would be asur on account of Lo Sechanim. So the rental is only asur midrabanan. There's a gzera, a concern, because it might lead to selling. And certainly it goes without saying, you may not lease a field in Eretz Yisrael, because in addition to the basic concern of Lo Sechanim, there is the truma and maser concern as well. So sales are certainly asur min haTorah. Rentals, leases are asur midrabanan. That's in Eretz Yisrael proper. What about a place called Syria? It's roughly today's Syria, which was conquered by David HaMelech as a kibush yachid, a private conquest. Meaning, as Rashi explains, it wasn't al pi hadibur. Hashem did not instruct him to do so, and it wasn't with all of Klal Yisrael cooperating and joining. So it's considered a kibush yachid, a private conquest. And as we're going to see in the Gemara, there is a question as to whether as to the status of this property, whether it has the same kedusha of Eretz Yisrael or not. But at this point, it would seem that it does not have the same kedusha, the same status of Eretz Yisrael, Syria. So now, if you're in Syria, the restrictions are lessened, because you're not in Eretz Yisrael itself, and therefore we drop a level. Maskirin lehem batim. So we allow you to lease batim, homes, avalei sadais, but not fields. Okay, so it pretty much drops down one notch. In contrast to Eretz Yisrael proper, where even leasing a home is asur. In Syria, that's allowed. But regarding fields, there is the compounded concern, and we don't even allow you to lease a field to a goy in Syria. What about if it's beyond Syria? If it's really chutz la'aretz, outright chutz la'aretz, far away from Eretz Yisrael, chutz la'aretz, there we drop down even further. You could even sell them homes or lease them fields. Moichin lehem batim, umaskirin sadais, divrei Meir. And we're going to see in the Gemara exactly why this is allowed and that is not allowed. There are all kinds of factors here. There are gzeros, because if you do it here, you might do it in Eretz Yisrael, etc., etc. So according to Reb Meir, once again, in Eretz Yisrael, you can't pretty much do anything. Not only can't you sell them properties, homes or fields, you can't even lease it or rent it to the guy. In Syria, you can lease the home but not the field. In Chutz La'aretz, you could even sell them the home, and a field you could lease. So that's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yossi drops the whole thing down one notch, all throughout the the equation. So starting Beretz Yisrael, over there he says maskirin lehem batim. Although you don't sell them homes, but you could rent it to them. We're not concerned that you're going to sell it to him. Avalei Sades, but a field you can't even rent to a guy. Ubi is Syria. If you're in Syria, you drop down one level. Moicher and Batim, you can sell the homes, Umaskirin Sades, and lease the fields, but not sell the fields. Ubchetz Laretz, you drop down even further, and everything's open. Moicher and Elu Ve'elu can sell them all types of properties, structures, buildings, or homes. Concludes the Mishnah. Af b'makom she'amar lahasker. So even in places where you're allowed to rent a property to a guy, but you should know that it's not allowed if he has intention of actually living in there. Loyal based due to Amrut cannot be transferred to the guy for personal residential use. You know why? Because he's going to bring his idol into his home. So although it's leased to the guy, but the actual property is still the landlord's. Is the Yid's property. He purchased the usage rights, right? But the actual property still belongs to the Yid. And the Pasuk tells us, Shenemar lo tavi. So don't allow abomination Avodah Zarah into your property. So you can lease it to him for storage purposes, but not for personal living quarters. Now Taisus discusses nowadays what we do in Chutz La'aretz. He says in Chutz La'aretz it's okay, and the Rishonim and the Poskim, Shulchan Aruch, provide several reasons, either because today it's not so common for the guy to bring the Avodah Zarah in permanently, derech keva, or as Taisus says in Chutz La'aretz, in any case it's not really our permanent home, it's not our inheritance, so the Isser doesn't apply in Chutz La'aretz. Continues the Mishnah with one more point, u'b'chol mokim. In any case, wherever you are, you can't lease a bathhouse to a guy. You know why? Because it's going to be pumping out steam and smoke all week long, including Shabbos. And people may think the Jew, the owner, is operating it on Shabbos because it's attributed to the owner. Typically, a bathhouse is owner-operated, lest they think that the Jew is operating it on Shabbos. Okay. Says the Gemara, Mayin Tzarech Le'Masades. Mishnah began with a statement: don't lease homes in Eretz Yisrael to a guy, and certainly not fields. Why are fields different? Why are fields self-understood? Why are they worse? Why is the concern greater? Is it due to the double concern? Chada Chanias Karka, firstly, providing them control of the property. Secondly, because you're abdicating the maser from the field. So that's why a field is more severe, more strict, more concerning. If that's the reason, we have just as much by the homes. We also have two concerns. Firstly, ownership of the land. There will be no mezuzah affixed to the home. If he gives it to a guy, well, it's never our concern because the owner doesn't affix a mezuzah, it's the person living there. Mezuzah is obligatory upon the person living in the field, in the home. So if it happens to be a guy, there's no chiyuv, there's no obligation to have mezuzah at all on this property. So it's not like I'm abdicating mezuzah, I'm eradicating mezuzah, I'm mavatal mezuzah. There's no chiyuv at all. If in fact the resident is a guy. Rashi brings the pasuk al mezuzahs beisecha, which is learned derech bi'ascha. It's a Gemara Menachos. As you walk in, a reference to the person walking in and using the apartment. Okay, so according to this, by transferring ownership of a home, the Isser is leisachanim, period. By a field, in addition to leisachanim, you have the concern about bimavatel ma'aser. This Surya, maskir and batim. Well, if you move on to Surya, we drop down one level. We're more lenient. So batim you can lease. You can't sell it to a guy, but you could lease it to a guy. Asks the Gemara, well, if the whole reason why in Syria we apply these restrictions is because although Syria itself is not really deserving of these restrictions, but on account of Eretz Yisrael, since it's in close proximity to the actual Eretz Yisrael proper, if you do it in Syria, you might do it in Eretz Yisrael. If that's the reason, so then so why do ban sales in Syria? Mishum mechira Eretz Yisrael, because it can lead to sales in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so ihachi mischiras nami nixer. So likewise, ban leasing in Syria, lest it come to leasing in Eretz Yisrael. Well, says the Gemara, leasing in Eretz Yisrael is not a violation of Leisachanim, right? You're not giving him ownership, you're just giving him usage rights. It's only because it could lead to an actual sale. Right? So that's a precaution, it's a gzeira. We don't stretch gzeiras to the point of a double precaution. So the ban of leasing in Eretz Yisrael is a concern, is a precaution for sales. But in Syria, we're not going to say, well, don't lease over here, lest you come to lease over there, which might lead to a sale. That's a double precaution. Gzera l'gzera, a double decker. Gzera the Rabbanan, we don't do that. Higuf gzera, that in itself, refraining from schirus in Eretz Yisrael in itself is a precaution lest it come to a sale. So now we should get up and act. V'nigzar, gzera l'gzera, a precaution on top of that precaution. We're not going to do that. Ask the Gemara, hold it. V'schirus sada. Well, you're agreeing to me that even in Syria you can't lease a field to a guy. V'schirus sada de b'Syria, why not? It's a double precaution, right? Because you may do the same in Eretz Yisrael, which might lead to a sale in Eretz Yisrael. It's a double gzera, the gzera gzeri. And we do apply this gzera, v'chagazrinan. So how do you understand that? Answers the Gemara, you're right. Our starting point here must be corrected. Hasam lav gzera hu. The truth is that the Isser in Syria is not on account of Eretz Yisrael. It's not because it could lead to the same in Eretz Yisrael. It's not because of that. It's Asr in Syria for its own sake. Because Rameir holds kibush yachad shmei kibush. David HaMelech's sort of private conquest is considered part of Eretz Yisrael. It now becomes incorporated into the actual land to a certain extent. So technically, the Isra of Leisachanim would apply in Syria as well. If he actually sells a property, whether it's a house or a field to a guy. What about leasing property? So, Sadadis Beit Tarti, by a field. Well, we have two concerns. Right, we have the Leisachanim concern, and we have the Maser concern. So then we say that you shouldn't even lease it to the guy. Gazu b'Rabbanan. Because if you lease it, you might sell it. And if you do that, you're running into two problems. But bottom homes, in Syria, the last butarti, you don't have that compounded concern. It's only a single concern. Rabban weren't so strict. They said, okay, don't sell it, but you can lease it to the guy. We're not concerned that you might come to sell it. So although in Eretz Yisrael, we do take that extra step, that extra precaution, don't even lease it because it might come to a sale, but in Syria, they weren't so strict for whatever reason. It doesn't have the same actual level of Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, and they allowed you to at least lease it to a guy. Okay, so bottom line is, according to this opinion, Rameir's opinion, Syria is considered part of Eretz Yisrael. Kibush yachad shmei kibush. So a sale in Syria, whether it's a home or a sada, would be problematic min ha-Torah, leisachanim, and therefore don't even lease that field. But a bayis you could lease to a guy. What about further away, b'chutz la'aretz. There, Rameir says that a bayis you can even sell. There's no leisachanim. And a field, well, you can rent. Why? So when you're out there in chutz la'aretz, there certainly is no isur leisachanim according to all shittas. So you can never come to do isur Torah out there. But the concern is there is a gzera. If you do it there, you might come to do the same in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So now, when it comes to a sada, leasing a field, where if it were in Eretz Yisrael, it would have the double violation, since the stakes are so high, so to speak. We apply an extra precaution, and even in Chutz La'aretz, it's far away from Eretz Yisrael, we apply some restriction. At least don't sell it to the guy. You could lease it, but not sell it. So that this beit tarti by field, we have double concerns. Gazru, Rabban apply to Gzera, don't sell it to a guy. But bottom homes, we don't have that compounded concern. The last beit tarti, we don't have two issues there. It's only like Sechanim in Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, if you're in Chutz La'aretz, not to worry. Legazru, Rabbanan, do what you want. You can rent, you can sell. Okay, so bottom line is, according to Rameir, in Eretz Yisrael, whether it's bottom or sades, no sales, no leases. Because a lease could lead to a sale. In Syria, bottom you can lease, as long as you don't sell, because a sale would entangle you with loisichanim min haTorah. But we're not concerned about leasing on account of sales. Whereas a field, because it has the extra compounded concern of maser, we want you to keep far, far away. Don't even lease it to a guy. In Chutz La'aretz, you can even sell a home, but a field which carries bigger stakes, you can lease but not sell. Rabbi Yossi Omer, he takes everything one notch down. Be'eretz Yisrael, maskir lehem batim. In Eretz Yisrael, you can lease the homes, but not the fields. Why? My time asad is butarti. The fields which have a double concern, Loisachanim and Maser, Gazru, Rabbanan made a gzera. Don't do anything. Don't even lease it to a guy. As opposed to Batim, the last butarti, which don't have two concerns, only one. So although you're not allowed to sell, but you can lease it. Loi Gazru, Rabbanan, there's no gzera on that. Ube Surya, we drop down even one more. Moichrin, according to Rabbi Yossi, you can sell a home and lease a field. My time. Why? Because he holds Syria does not have the same status as Eretz Yisrael. He disagrees with Rameir in that regard. Because kibush yachad is not considered a national asset. Lo yishmei kibush. So even if he were to sell in Syria, there's no isur of loisachanim. It's only on account of Eretz Yisrael. It might lead to the same in Eretz Yisrael because it's so close by, and right, it might confuse things. So by a sadeh, where the stakes are higher, v'sadeh this beit tarti, Gaz Rabbanan, over there the Rabbanan made a gzera that even in Syria, you shouldn't be selling it, although you could lease it but not sell it. V'sadeh this beit tarti, Gaz Rabbanan, bottom less beit tarti, but bottom which don't have double concerns. It's only a single concern of Sechanim in Eretz Yisrael. So if you're in Syria, the coast is clear. Lo Gaz Rabbanan, there's no gzera. Do what you want. If you're out in Chutz La'aretz, further away, you can sell a bayis and a sada. Why? My time. Since it's so far away from Eretz Yisrael, like there's no concern about confusion and coming to do the same in Eretz Yisrael. In fact, that's what we paskin, like Rav Yossi. So although you can sell a bayis and Chutz La'aretz or goy, but just make sure that you're not going to populate the area with goyim, lest it create sakana, danger for the yidden that live in the area. So you can't sell a series of homes to goyim. How much is considered a cluster of homes? Tana, we learned in a brayso, in shchuna pchusim mishloisha b'nei adam, no less than 3 people. So if it's less than 3 goyim, that's okay. V'leichosh, says the Gemara, V'leichosh dilma azl ha-Yisrael, umaz min l'chadav k'cham. Perhaps he'll go and sell one building to a guy, And the guy will take that house, which is officially a single-family house, he'll subdivide it. He'll make a basement apartment, a first-level apartment, an attic apartment, and you have 3 families living there. V'azal hayich, and now this buyer will go ahead, umazmul tree, and sell parts of his bias to another 2. And you have 3 guys living there. Why isn't that a concern? Says the Gemara Abaye, we don't have to go so far. As long as you're selling it to one guy, you don't have to concern yourself with what he's going to turn around and do. That far, we're not obligating you to. Alifne infakdinan. Alifne delifne lem infakdinan. This is actually a phrase that we had back on Daf Chaf Amud Aleph. Lifne iver lisitem mish. Right? You can't cause a blind man to stumble, but you can, sell something to somebody who might turn around and violate lifnei iver. That's his business. So lifnei iver, I'm obligated to adhere to. But if it's 2 steps away, lifnei de lifnei, before or before, right? We're not obligated to look after that. So it's just a borrowed phrase, Rashi says. Kalaymar, on the bottom line, Rashi says, I'm not concerned that far, meaning as long as you acted responsibly, sold it to one family, one guy, what he does with it, that's we can't obligate you to to look after that. Now the Mishnah continues. Sure, so even in locations where you're allowed to rent a bias to a guy, provided it's not for residential use, for concern of importing the Avodah Zarah into the home. Says the Gemara, the fact that the Mishnah words it this way, even in places where you can rent, it sounds like there are places you can't rent a bias. Some places we're not allowed to be maskir a bias. Now, according to Rabbi Yasi, there's no such place. He holds that even in Eretz Yisrael, you could lease a bias to a guy. This unnamed conclusion of the Mishnah is consistent with Rameir Shita that in some places you can't even rent to a guy. On that, the Mishnah says, well, even in places that it's allowed, be careful that, right? Because according to Rabbi Yasi, you're allowed to lease a bias to a guy in any location, even in Eretz Yisrael. Okay, so before we continue, let's just summarize the 2 shitas, Rameir Rabbi Yasi, regarding selling, leasing properties. So we have Eretz Yisrael, we have Syria, we have Chutz La'aretz. According to Rameir, in Eretz Yisrael, whether it's a bias or a sada, no selling or leasing, there's leisachanim on account of a sale, and leasing that could lead. There's a gzera that it could lead to a sale. In Syria, he holds kibush yachad shmei kibush. It's considered part of the national asset, part of like same level of Eretz Yisrael. In which case he says you can't sell either a bias or a sada for concern of leisachanim. And regarding leasing, by a house it's okay. By a sada, even that's not allowed because a sada really has greater stakes. There's a concern of leisachanim plus maser. So let's keep you one step away. In Chutz La'aretz, Batem, Meichrin, no problem. Regarding sadis, again, because the stakes are higher, is even if it's a far-fetched concern that it might confuse people, that is a sufficient reason to disallow sales. So you can only lease a field in Chutz La'aretz, lest it come to a sale in Eretz Yisrael. According to Rabbi Yasi, even in Eretz Yisrael, although you can't lease a field, but you can lease a home. In Syria, you can even sell a home because he holds kibush yachad leishmei kibush. Does not have the same status of Eretz Yisrael, but you should only lease a sada for concern that you might actually sell in Eretz Yisrael. And in Chutz La'aretz, the coast is clear. You can even sell batim and sadis. Continues the Gemara. U'b'chamakam layasker. One exception is the bathhouse, because when it operates on Shabbos, it might be attributed to the Jewish owner, and create a Chilul Hashem, people will think that the Jewish owner is running his business on Shabbos. Tanya, Rab Shimon Leil Eimer, Liyaskir, Adam, Merchatzai, Levid Gechav, right? So one should not lease his Beis HaMerchas to a guy for this reason. Because it's attributed to the Jewish owner who appears to be operating it on Shabbos. Right? They'll blame it on the owner when the guy will be working and operating it on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Okay, apparently this concern is only with a guy. But what about a kusi, who's officially a yid, not the most observant yid? He adheres to the written Torah Shebechsav, but wasn't very committed to Torah Shebal Peh, including refraining from halacha and chol hamoed. So it appears from this halacha that there's no concern with having this lease arrangement on the bathhouse with a kusi. Why? Aval kusi mai. So there you're going to say shari, it's allowed. Kusi emar avid bein malacha b'chol hamoed. What about the fact that he's operating on chol hamoed? And then it'll look like the Jew is operating it on chol hamoed. Well, b'chol hamoed, there's never a concern about operating a bathhouse. It's allowed. It's for the sake of Yom Tov. It's fine. Ananam yavdinan. Even we traditionalists, right? We also operate our bathhouses on chol hamoed. There's no concern. Okay, so this limitation with respect to a guy is limited to a bathhouse for concern about the Shabbos activity. But let's say it's a field. Can one make an arrangement with a guy? Listen, you develop my field this year, you plant it, you take care of it, and take 50% of the income. 50% of the profit of the produce is yours. What's the halacha regarding leasing the field to a guy, knowing that he's going to work on Shabbos? Sure, that's allowed. Why? My time, why? Because everybody knows. He's not working for me. He can skip Shabbos if he wants. He can work harder on Friday, on Sunday. I'm not telling him to work on Shabbos for me. I can't instruct a guy to work on my behalf. I cannot benefit from, Shabbos profits. But if he decides to work on Shabbos for his own benefit, for the sake of his own income, to increase his productivity, that's his choice, right? My time and why? Arisa, because a sharecropper, arisus seikav, he's doing his own arisus, meaning he's engaged in his own profit taking. It's not attributed to the owner. He's not working on my behalf, so it's fine. So what about the bathhouse? The same could be applied there. Look, it's a lease. He's looking to increase his own profits by keeping it open on Shabbos and increasing his customers. It's not on my behalf. It's not on account of the owner. People will say, Arisa, the Aris, Arisu Sekavit, he's just doing his own business. Well, Arisa, the Merchas of the Inchi. It's not common for people to have this arrangement by a bathhouse. Typically, it's owner operated, so they'll blame it on the Jewish owner. Tanya, Rabbi Shimon also Omer, although you can lease the field to a goy, as we just explained, but not to a kusi, because he's going to work on chol hamoed. Layaskir adam chasdei kusi, because it's the work in the field, the activity is attributed to the Yiddish owner. And what happens on chol hamoed? When there's activity, they'll blame it on the Yiddish owner. That's not allowed. But to a guy, it's allowed. My shari. But to make the same arrangement with a guy is okay, as we just explained, because the Amri we say, people will say, Arisa say, the worker is just doing his own thing. Arisa, the same exact formula applies to a kusi. It's his work, it's his business, it's his profit, unrelated to the owner. As is the Gemara, you're right. Arisusa, this sort of excuse, this idea that people will just blame it on the Aris and view it as his own personal activity, this Tana does not hold to that. The Reb Shimon Elazar Leslie doesn't hold to this as a valid reason for allowance. People might not, interpret it properly. They might misunderstand. He doesn't hold that as a reason to allow it. Okay, so back to the question. So how can we allow it by a guy? Why could we have this arrangement with a guy? How could you lease a field to a guy who you know is going to work on Shabbos? My time and mutter. The answer is because he's not going to work on Shabbos. Because the owner will tell the guy will tell him beforehand, you cannot work on Shabbos. And he listens. He'll follow instructions. That was part of the arrangement. That was the contract. He'll listen. So there's no concern of maris ha'ayin, of people, seeing activity on the field. So then why is a kusi worse? We're drawing this distinction. You can lease to a guy, but not to a kusi. The guy will not work because you told him to. What about the kusi? Kusi nambi. Amrin levet sayis. We'll just tell him and he'll cooperate. A kusi doesn't cooperate. He thinks he knows better than you. He's more religious than the religious. Kusi levet sayis. You know why the Amar? Because he says, "Ano gamirna tvei menach." I'm more knowledgeable and educated than you, Mr. Owner. You think you're not allowed you're going to tell me what to do? I know what you can do, what you can't do. Right? So he'll work on Chol HaMoed. He won't work on Shabbos, but he'll work on Chol HaMoed. Well, if that's the case, if that's the concern, my area b'nei shenikras al shmoy. Let's backtrack to Rav Shimon Elazar's statement. He says, don't do it with a kusi because nikras al shmoy, which means people will blame the activity on the owner, on the landlord. Well, forget about that concern. If we know that the kusi will be uncooperative and he'll work on Chol HaMoed, then you're doing him an injustice by giving him the job. You're tripping him up. Lifnei iver. This is the Raisa. If working on Chol HaMoed is also the Raisa, or certainly rooted, sourced in the Torah, and interpreted by the Rabban. In any case, Lifnei iver applies there as well. Typically, Mishum Lifnei iver is the Michshel. So that's enough of a reason not to do it. You're right. Chadabayt Ka'amar. The reason that he provided was on top of this reason. The one reason is Mishum Lifnei iver, because you're tripping him up. In addition to that, because the activity is attributed to the Jewish landlord, and that in itself is problematic. So if we were to summarize the halacha regarding leasing, it would turn out like this. Regarding a merchatz, so it's asr by a guy because of his work on Shabbos, which will be attributed to the Yiddish landlord. Regarding a kusi, it's not an issue because he's not going to work on Shabbos. And Chol HaMoed, in any case, it's permissible. Regarding a field, it's exactly the opposite. By a guy, it's okay. Either because, aris barisuse, people will just understand that he's doing his own activity for his own profit taking. Or according to the other pshat, because we tell him in advance, don't work on Shabbos, and he'll cooperate. By a kusi, it's asr. Although he won't work on Shabbos, but he will on Chol HaMoed. He's late sayis, he won't listen. And therefore leaves Lifnei iver. Plus, the activity will be attributed to the landlord. And there's a concern about maris ha'ayin. All the best to you and Hatzlacha.